Live from Citizen TV, this is the Monday Report with Trevor Ombija.
Good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, I have something to explain to you. So we were meant to host Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, the CS for Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Programs. That's where all the disaster management falls under. But he sent in his apologies saying he can't make it tonight because they're still ongoing the recovery efforts in the mudslide area. The death toll has increased, so he sent in his apologies. He will not be able to make it this evening. We were meant to discuss how come we always caught flat foot during these mudslides, despite having gotten earlier warning from the Kenya Meteorological Department that there'll be heavy rains and mudslides as well. We'll see if we can host him any other time when he's available for that conversation to find out what more the country can do to stay more prepared and aware of possible disasters coming through. But first, let's start off with our top stories tonight.
Kidogo tunasikia manguruma ya mawe akitokea huko juu.
Mimi nasaliwa sikiaona kitu kama hiyo. Hata
more deaths in Marakwet. Death toll climbs to 32 as survivors narrate how they survived the deadly mudslides of Marakwet. It's a 5-year term for Suluhu. President Samia Suluhu sworn in for second term after chaotic election. Crackdown on exam cheating. A principal is interdicted. School in Kajiado raided by DCI detectives over exam malpractice as over 900,000 students begin writing KCSE exams. Another cult? 20 children, 7 women rescued from a church in Mombasa as 10 more bodies are released to relatives of Shakahola victims.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Njoki Shege. I'm afraid I still have some bad news here. The death toll from the landslides in Elgeyo Marakwet County has now risen to 32 following the discovery of 6 more bodies on Monday. 4 bodies were retrieved in Chesongoch area of Marakwet East constituency, while 2 bodies were retrieved from a separate landslide that struck Kipkenda village in Keyo North constituency. Basic Education Principal Secretary Julius Bitok has also confirmed that 14 learners are among the confirmed fatalities. Safina Chieng Uma with the latest details.
Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret. Margaret Kipto is struggling to face her new reality, a survivor of the Chesongoch landslide that has left her a shadow of her former self. She recalls how her sleep was disrupted by the heavy rains at 1 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Mimi nikarudia kulala. Nikasikia mawe ya kwanza ikaanguka kutoka juu kaniangukia hapa. Ai, nikapiga nduru nikasema je, nini? Alafu hiyo maji sasa inanibeba. Sikumwona mtoto. Mpaka huko chini. Nilipofika huko chini nikaita majina ya Mungu nikasema, Mungu pokea roho yangu mbinguni na unisamehe dhambi zangu zote.
Margaret was trapped under a boulder and was forced to pluck her hair to set herself free.
Mawe ikashika nywele tena. Nikaanza kutoa one by one. Mpaka itoke salafu nikapiga nduru.
What transpired moments before she was rescued was shattering, she says.
Tasama hivi maji imejaa ni mchanga na mdomo. Masikio na mafua.
As she struggles to regain strength and health, she fears for her children, who are among the 21 people who are still reported missing. 4 more bodies were retrieved during the search and rescue mission on Monday, bringing the Marakwet East death toll to 30.
Baba yake ako. But babu yake, shosho yake, baba yake mwingine walikuwa wote.
mimi nasaliwa sikiaona kitu kama hiyo. Hata batu bana. Hiyo ni mara ya kwanza kuangalia kitu kama hiyo.
Meanwhile, 2 people were confirmed dead after another landslide struck Kipkenda village, Emso ward, Keyo North constituency. The 2 died on Sunday night after a boulder rolled down and crushed their house.
Kidogo tunasikia manguruma ya mawe akitokea huko juu. Alafu tena mvua ikaendelea. Wakati mvua ilipopoa kidogo tukasikia nduru. Tulifika hapa mama amevinyiliwa na wajukuu.
Basic Education Principal Secretary Julius Bitok has also confirmed that several learners across 8 schools in the region are among the confirmed fatalities.
Records here show that we lost 14 students in the schools around this. It is really unfortunate. And I want to take this opportunity to empathize with the families.
A total of 13 patients out of the 26 who are receiving treatment have been discharged as calls for support for the victims of the tragedy continue to mount.
Where you told me that SHA doesn't cover
Everybody?
It doesn't cover everybody.
In trauma, yes.
In trauma. Yeah, because you have to have had multiple injuries. And some of them don't exactly have multiple injuries. They have maybe a broken leg, some head injury, and so on. Because then we can change the regulations.
The search and rescue operation entered day 3 despite difficult circumstances faced by the multi-agency team coordinating the mission. Meanwhile, residents of the affected regions have been urged to move to safer grounds. Safin Achieng Omar, Citizen TV.
Our deepest condolences to the family that lost their loved ones and a quick recovery to all those who were injured in those mudslide incidents. Beyond the borders and just to our neighbor over here, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan was today sworn in under tight security in a military base ground in the administrative capital of Dodoma, effectively starting a second tenure in office after a chaotic presidential election. As Emmanuel Toh now reports, President William Ruto is among several heads of state who have congratulated President Suluhu for her win.
11:50 a.m., the motorcade carrying Tanzania's President-elect Samia Suluhu Hassan snakes into the Chamwino military parade grounds next to State House Dodoma under tight multi-agency security. This was the first time in recent times where the country's head of state was sworn in outside a public national stadium, with the majority of the members of the public also barred from accessing the facility, only following the proceedings from the national broadcaster. This being part of the stringent measures, which included a nationwide internet shutdown that the government has imposed after the deadly election protests, which saw hundreds reportedly killed.
Mimi Samia Suluhu Hassan naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania.
Samia Suluhu Hassan taking her oath of office, which will see her at the helm until 2030. President Suluhu also handed these leadership tools, which signify her role as the shield and defender of her country. President Suluhu, who won the October 29th presidential election by 98% of the total votes cast, thanked her fellow competitors as being patriotic.
Napenda kuwashukuru sana wenzangu 16 ambao kwa hakika wameonyesha ukomavu wa kidemokrasia kwa kuendesha kampeni ambazo tulishindana kwa hoja na sote tulionyesha kuwa siasa sio vita.
President Suluhu then turned her guns on the alleged plotters and sponsors of the deadly protests that rocked the country during and after the elections day.
Nitumie fursa hii kutoa onyo kama mama, kutoa onyo kwa wale wote waliochochea uvunjifu wa amani. Na nawataka watambue kuwa vurugu na uvunjifu wa amani huishia kupimana nguvu na uwezo wa kujihami.
The Tanzanian president also claiming that the protests were infiltrated by foreign elements.
Haikutushangaza kuona kuwa baadhi ya vijana waliokamatwa kutokana na kadhia hiyo wametoka nje ya Tanzania. Vyombo vyetu vya ulinzi na usalama vinaendelea kufuatilia.
Earlier Monday, President William Ruto congratulated President Suluhu, calling on the country to embrace dialogue and tolerance as they seek to resolve any issues in order to safeguard democracy and stability. President Ruto was represented by his deputy, Professor Kithure Kindiki, in the inauguration ceremony. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV.
Back home, a head teacher in Narok County has been suspended pending investigations of alleged violation of KCSE exam regulations while at a secondary school in Kajiado. 2 have been arrested and 7 teachers have recorded statements over claims of exam malpractice on the first day of KCSE exams. Police say that they are pursuing the principal of Mary Shaw School. In the meantime, the government is assuring Kenyans that no candidate has been left behind, including those in Elgeyo Marakwet who sat the examination despite the devastating landslide in the county. Now, Willie Lusige has more.
As government assesses the effect of the landslide in Elgeyo Marakwet, which claimed the lives of dozens, including 14 students, the Ministry of Education did everything possible to ensure that all candidates scheduled to sit the KCSE exam, which officially started Monday, were able to do so despite the challenges they face.
Over the weekend, we put in measures, including deploying helicopters, including ensuring that enough personnel are available to ensure that exams were here on time.
At Kapkondot Secondary School, one of the schools in the hard-hit area, all 16 candidates sat for the exam as papers arrived on time.
We are on the ground here to ensure that everybody gets an opportunity to sit for every child gets an opportunity to sit for the exams without delay. So there's no delay, absolutely.
Meanwhile, in Narok County, a head teacher has been suspended pending investigations for breaching KCSE exam regulations.
He's not working in accordance with the NEC regulations, and therefore that institution, the deputy head teacher, will take over to run the exams throughout.
Merisho Secondary School in Isinya, Kajiado County, is also under police investigation of allegation of involvement in exam malpractice. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migoso Gamba, while overseeing exams in Kwale County, emphasized that anyone found involved in exam malpractice will be held personally accountable.
It helps us going forward not to punish the whole school or the whole class, but to punish individuals who are actually involved in malpractice.
The statement was backed by Director of Public Prosecutions, Renson Igonga, who visited Kakamega County, warning that anyone found guilty of exam theft will face strict penalties.
We will not encourage any malpractice. We will not encourage at all. And I will assure you we will prosecute anyone found involved in malpractices, from the lowest to the highest.
Over 996,000 candidates are sitting for the examinations. Willie Lusige, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The Kerugoya High Court has extended orders barring the implementation of a section of the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act 2025. Judge Edward Mureithi ruled that the enforcement will halt the enactment of provisions related to Section 6(1)J, which speaks on the functions of the National Computer and Cybercrimes Coordination Committee. The petition filed by Kirinyaga Women Representative Njeri Maina challenged the act, arguing that the amendments will significantly curtail digital platforms and freedom of expression in Kenya. Now, police in Mombasa County have detained 27 people, including 20 minors, on suspicion of engaging in cult-like activities. Changamwe Sub-County Police Commander Gogo Patrick said that the persons were taken in following a tip-off from the public about children in deplorable conditions after starvation at a local church. And as Loro Tino now reports, police are now seeking a woman who is believed to be the owner of the church as they launch a probe into the matter.
The Zion Fire Ministries Church in Mombasa was on Monday a crime scene after police rounded up 27 people. 7 women and 20 minors aged between 2 and 15 years were busted in what police say could be religious extremism cropping up in the coastal city.
Tulipata hao watoto wadogo pamoja na wamama wote wamelala sakafuni wakiwa wamejifunika mashuka. Na kama unavyoelewa, area ya pwani ni area ambayo iko na mbu wengi sana. So watoto wadogo wakiwa wamelazwa sakafuni bila vyandarua vya neti vya mbu ni kuwa hatarisha maisha yao.
The tip-off came after police arrested a woman on Friday who led authorities to the church. The suitcase found at the church indicating that the persons could have been staying at the church.
Leo ni siku ya Jumatatu na ni siku ya shule. So kwa wale ambao wako kwa umri za kufanya mitihani zinaendelea. Na ukiangalia wale watoto ni kati ya miaka 2 hadi miaka 14, 15. Kuna uwezekano kuna wengine wako pale ambao wanafaa kuwa katika mashule zao wakiendelea na mitihani yao.
This comes even as detectives from the homicide unit released 10 bodies of the Shakahola massacre. Authorities say the bodies included 1 from Malava, 2 from Emuhaya and 1 from Kisii.
Tunashukuru kwa sababu tumepokelewa na tunaendelea na mipango ili tukaende kuzika miili yetu kule Ukambani. Ikiwezekana wiki ijayo tutakuja tuchukue miili na tukazike huko Ukambani.
This brings the total number of bodies released so far to 11. The DCI is assisting in moving the bodies to their respective homes. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
The United Opposition has cautioned President William Ruto against belittling them as unworthy competitors in the run-up to the 2027 general election, following his remarks that the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga was his only formidable challenger. Opposition leaders told the president to prepare for a major political showdown in the upcoming November 27th by-elections, vowing to defeat both UDA and ODM candidates across the constituencies. The coalition has since reached a consensus agreement to field single joint candidates in each race, a strategy aimed at eliminating internal competition and strengthening their bid against the broad-based government. Melito Letenges has more.
It is now the united opposition versus the broad-based government in the upcoming November 27th by-elections. The opposition has executed its latest masterstroke, narrowing down to a single joint candidate in each constituency, effectively eliminating internal rivalry ahead of the polls. In Malava, the united opposition has reached a consensus for DAPK's Seth Panyako. DCP candidate Edgar Busiega has stepped down in his favor. Panyako will now face off against UDA's David Ndakwa.
We have been saying one term, but one term is not possible if we are not one team. Through these by-elections, we'll show that we are one team and will truly make William Ruto a one-term president.
Meanwhile, the broad-based government's campaign in Malava continues to intensify.
Ndakwa hoye. Mumeamua kabisa ni yeye. Mumesema alete maji. Alete barabara. Alete stima. Aunganishe wa Malava bila kuchakua chama.
In Mbeere, Newton Karish of the Democratic Party will fly the united opposition flag against UDA's Morioki Wamuthende. In Magarini, Wiper Party's Nzai Samuel has stepped aside in support of Stanley Kenga of DCP, who will now battle ODM's Harrison Kombe.
And of course, we have candidates in Kasipul, Kabondo, and Unguja. In fact, Wiper has a very strong candidate in Unguja. But we didn't, my friends here did not suggest candidates.
The united opposition has challenged the broad-based government to brace for stiff competition in the by-elections, while dismissing President William Ruto's claims that he faces no serious challenger in the 2027 presidential race.
I have heard William Ruto bragging that with the demise of Raila Odinga, he has no opponent. I would like just to inform him that we are not his opponents. His opponents are the people of Kenya.
While campaigning for Harrison Kombe in Magarini, ODM leaders hit back at Gachagua, accusing him of promoting divisive politics.
Sasa huyu jamaa ambaye anasimama hapa ameenda kushirikiana na wale ambao wamemtusi baba, wamemdharau baba, hata wakati baba amekufa bado walimtusi kwa kifo.
Wale wanaosema Wagiriama ni wachache hawafai kuwa kwa serikali. Leo anatafuta aweke mbunge Magarini kwa watu wachache tena.
The united opposition's new consensus strategy is seen as a deliberate effort to maximize votes and avoid internal competition, presenting a united front against broad-based government candidates in each constituency. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
Now, Kiambaa lawmaker John Wanjiku has hit back at former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who he accuses of political witch hunt after the DCP leader said that the current crop of leaders from Mount Kenya region lack capacity to undertake their mandate. Wanjiku instead accused Gachagua of driving a divisive narrative.
Getungati or whatever you are, that is non issue to me. The politics of 2027 will shape itself, and when that particular time comes, we will definitely decide where we are going to go and who we are going to vote as our president, or probably where we'll be able to take our vote. I told him that you want to bring people together. Uhuru is part and parcel of our community. So if you want to bring everybody on board, even Uhuru, give him the respect that he deserves. But I refuse to participate in that business of going to steal Mama Ngina's buzi.
All right, let's take a quick break here on Monday Report. We're back with much more in just a short while, so don't go too far. Coming up, Sudan war. Thousands more flee imminent attack after mass killings in El Fasher. It affected several parts of Sudan as the crisis worsens. Franklin Wala has more.
The biggest humanitarian crisis has hit Sudan as two warring factions continue to launch its offensive against each other in a bid to control a country that is now on the edge. The Rapid Support Forces RSF and Armed Forces of Sudan have embroiled in a long-time war that has resulted in bloodshed, loss of lives and human rights violations. The latest takeover of El Fasher, the capital city of Darfur, by RSF has deepened the crisis. The Rapid Support Forces RSF paramilitary offensive overwhelmed the Sudanese Republic Armed Forces, forcing their withdrawal after a fierce battle. The RSF takeover of El Fasher has triggered a severe humanitarian crisis marked by widespread atrocities, including mass killings, executions, sexual violence, and rampant destruction of property. Reports indicate thousands of civilians have been killed, with many survivors recounting horrific violence, including execution captured on videos. Over 70,000 people have fled El Fasher, yet many remain trapped amid starvation and insecurity. Sudan plunged into a civil war in April 2023 after a vicious struggle for power broke out between the armed forces of Sudan and a powerful paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces RSF. More than 150,000 people have died in the conflict across the country, and about 12 million have fled their homes in what the United Nations has called the world's largest humanitarian crisis. Franklin Wala, Citizen TV.
Now, tension remains high along West Pokot-Turkana border following a spate of killings that has left more than 10 people dead in a span of 2 weeks. The deteriorating state of security that has caused fear and panic among residents along the volatile border. Citizen TV's Turkana correspondent Emmanuel Cheboit is among those who have been on the receiving end after he narrowly escaped death when gunshots rang out while he was on assignment in Kalomwai.
These winding, dusty paths are the only way to reach villages like Nakuomoru, Kapelbok, Juluk, and Kalomwai, where residents now live in constant fear as armed bandits turn their homes into battlefield. 2 days ago, 2 people were shot in Nakuomoru as they walked home from church. Immediately after that incident, the armed raiders struck again, this time targeting a gold mining site in Kalomwai.
Tunaenda kufanya sherehe yetu yenye huwa tunafanya hata yenye gavana huwa anakuja. Kufika saa kurudi hivi, tukakatishwa kwa manjia, tutapigwa marisasi kwa manjia mpaka tukafika hapa. Mungu peke yake akatuokoa. Saa hii ndio tumesikia report kwamba wameuliwa mtu wetu mmoja.
The raiders opened fire, forced workers to flee, looted property, and set ablaze this excavator worth 16 million shillings.
Hapa hili tractor ilikuwa ni ya investor. Yule mwenye alikuja kutusaidia. Walikuja wakatuchomea wakati walitufukuza, wakatuchomea. Hivi vile iko sahihi hii tractor, wao ndio walichoma.
While on assignment to cover the insecurity situation in Kalomwai, Citizen TV crew in Turkana also tested the wrath of the raiders who struck just before they wrapped up their recordings. The gunshots sent everyone scrambling for cover, exposing the realities of the price journalists in this part of the country pay just to tell a story. Residents now want the Ministry of Interior to step up and take swift action against political leaders accused of inciting the locals.
After KPR wamechoma tipa. Wanahabari wamekuja kutambua hiyo mambo, wamepiga tena wanahabari, wamepiga risasi ndio wamekimbia.
Sasa hawa wamekosa nini? Hatujui ni nini hao watu wamekosea. Sasa hiyo kitu bado ni uchungu kwetu kwa sababu sasa huwezi tembea. Huwezi tembea, hii nchi imekuwa sio yetu.
The deteriorating state of security that has caused fear and panic among residents along the volatile border. Crispino, TNO Citizen TV.
Now, Safaricom marked 25 years of service in Kenya with the launch of a national consumer promotion, NCP, which will reward their customers with cash prizes. The promotion, which starts today, will reward 25 Safaricom loyal customers who will win cash prizes of 1 million shillings each and an additional 250,000 shillings to support their community projects of their choice. The 2-month campaign will also reward customers who use any Safaricom services. Customers have a chance to win 25,000 weekly alongside daily prizes such as data bundles, airtime, cash, goods and other gadgets. Speaking during the launch, Safaricom Chief Executive Officer Peter Ndegwa said that the initiative reflects the company's appreciation for customer loyalty over the years.
It's a national consumer promotion that we are calling Shangwe at 25, which will reward customers for being loyal to our business, for being with us for all this time. The largest prize will be a million shillings. 25 Kenyans, because we are celebrating 25, will win 1 million each. And then we will also add 250,000 to each winner to spend on a community project of their choice. You just need to subscribe to any Safaricom service, so we'll make sure that the 25 millionaires come from across the country, but everyone will be chosen randomly. The only reason why you'll win is you participate.
All right, on that note, let's take a quick break here on Monday Report. This is what's coming up. Is the government propping up the exchange rate of the shilling versus the dollar? Experts will weigh in after this break. Let's talk about business now. And over the past 15 months, the Kenyan currency has remained stable against major global currencies, but notably so against the US dollar. The currency trading at an average of 128 shillings to 131 shillings to the dollar. It is this stability that experts now say has been manipulated. They say it is unusual for currencies to remain at the same level for a protracted period of time. Jimmy Mbogo with the details.
In the first quarter of 2024, the Kenya shilling took its worst hit, significantly depreciating against the US dollar to trade at over 160 shillings to the dollar in January of 2024. This was before gaining against the greenback a month later to trade at 144 shillings to the dollar by mid-February, and later down to 127 shillings in April, where the currency has since been trading at an average of 128 to 131 shillings to the dollar to date, marking over 1 year of Kenyan currency stability. But it is this stability that is now being questioned by the International Monetary Fund.
For example, they were in town 2 weeks ago. One of the things they told us is that the exchange rate is too stable. Yes. One of the things the IMF told us when they were in town 2 weeks ago is that the exchange rate is too, that they think it is interfering with the transmission and that it is interfering with inflation targeting.
The government now seeking to distance itself from the insinuation of currency manipulation, with the president's chief economic advisor David Ndii now saying they have taken a pragmatic approach.
So a lot of these debate and the IMF asking whether it is moved too stable, too unstable, is basically witchcraft. This is just witchcraft we economists do, which can go this way, can go this way. But the policymaker has to be pragmatic.
But Kwame Owino from the Institute of Economic Affairs disagrees.
So that leads me to the thinking that whatever it is that is happening with the Kenya shilling is something we need to observe and study very, very clearly. Because whichever witch doctor that is, he's very effective for now.
According to Churchill Ogutu, an economist from IC Group, the numerous reasons given to support the stability of the shilling, such as portfolio inflow from infrastructure bonds, tapping into the international Eurobond, and increased diaspora remittance, still do not explain the protracted stability of the currency.
So if you look at it all, it just points to the stability being pointing to mandate of the shilling, at least to ensure that it's within the current levels. And why do I think it's been managed? The restoration of the FX interbank markets and the impact of all this is at least to ensure that our external debt services is certain.
Churchill warns that although in the short term the move may reduce imported inflation by managing imports, it may not hold in the long run. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, stakeholders in the Kenya's tourism sector, led by the Kenya Tourism Federation, are raising concern over a new park fees payment system introduced by the Kenya Wildlife Service. They warn that the system could saddle the industry with over 370 million shillings in hidden annual charges, amid claims that it was rolled out without consultation and in violation of a court order. Here's Jasmine Wamboi with more.
When the Kenya Wildlife Service announced plans to increase park fees, players in the tourism industry say they had little objection to the review. Their concern, however, lies in the rushed rollout of a new payment system, one they say has caused major disruption and confusion across the sector.
It should be known that our bone of contention is not the system. It is the shenanigans around the system.
The Kenya Tourism Federation, KTF, says it obtained a court order on October 1st, barring the implementation of the new park fees, including what it describes as a hidden 5% gateway fee charged at KWS gates.
The Gazette notice that was given by the same KWS for increase of park fees did not mention the 5%. So how did they start charging 5% without a Gazette notice? Because KWS is a government institution.
KTF further saying that the new payment system has limited options to only M-Pesa and Visa cards, locking out bank transfers that operators have relied on for years.
We used to put money in the bank, and then we show the slip to them, and then we get the tickets. Now, they're telling us that for us to pay that money, you have to pay through a credit card. The credit card, again, has a charge of 3.5%.
And in a statement, KWS now says that it will restore the use of bank transfers, though the 5% gateway fees remain. The Federation warns that these charges are hurting business operations and could slow the recovery of the tourism sector at a time when park fees revenues are projected to rise from 7.4 billion shillings this year to 16.6 billion by 2028.
As we operate, we have already priced 2026 to our source markets at the beginning of 2025. And at this time, we are pricing and selling 2027. So when you put in fees like this at the last minute, consumers in our source market who have budgeted and paid deposits for their trips reconsider Kenya as a destination because they're still outside the cancellation policies.
KTF is now calling on the Ministry of Tourism and KWS to restore the previous e-citizen-based payment platform, suspend the gateway fee and comply with existing court orders to safeguard confidence in Kenya's tourism sector. The government has often boldly spoken about turning Kenya into Africa's premier tourist destination. However, industry players say that little has been done to turn this vision into a reality. They argue that recent policy decisions by the government and its agencies have in fact undermined the sector's growth. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, tea farmers from the west of Rift are demanding an immediate audit of all licenses issued to private tea farms in the zone to determine their green leaf capacity. Speaking after a meeting in Kisumu, KTDA Vice Chairperson James Omweno said that the influx of private factories has led to widespread poaching of leaf, affecting the productive capacity of existing tea factories. And as Laura Otieno now reports, the farmers also want the reinstatement of the direct sales system in order to secure better returns for farmers.
In an ongoing bid to explain to tea farmers the reason behind reduced bonuses for the final leg of the 2024-2025 payments, KTDA is now calling for an immediate audit of licenses, decrying the mushrooming of private factories. The agency calling for the strict adherence to the Tea Act of Kenya, which requires a standard tea factory to have at least 250 hectares of planted tea bushes.
These companies often lure farmers with spot cash payments, but they offer no long-term security or transparency. Their operations destabilize organized KTDA factories.
Now, what we are asking our farmers is, if a factory is supposed to process, let's say, 25,000 tons a day, to supply the 25 tons a day. That's the only way we can meet the costs.
Decrying apparent sidelining of tea from certain regions, the agency is pushing the East Africa Tea Trade Association to introduce codes to streamline the classification process.
Instead chai iandikwe Kiamokama, lazima iandikwe code fulani, ili iwe blind testing without knowing which factory it is.
Tungeomba sana wakati ule mmea wa chai unapotengenezwa katika kiwanda na kuweza kusambazwa kikauzwa duniani, jameni, tujue kwamba ni mmea ambao unasaidia watu na hawa watu hawana pesa, hawa wakonde ajabu sana katika mifuko yao.
The agency is also pushing for the reinstatement of direct sales systems as well as diversification of services offered by tea factories in order to secure better returns for farmers. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Demand for skincare products has opened space for Kenyan entrepreneurs to become more innovative to fill this gap. One such entrepreneur is Christine Ruben, who founded Christine Ruben Home Products, a venture making different products ranging from gels to lotions. Edward Chwea tells us more in our Made in Kenya segment.
Christine Ruben's entrepreneurship was inspired by one of our domestic workers who would make soap besides her daily chores in their home. Learning from her, she embarked on starting her own brand, Christine Ruben Home Products.
Sabuni zake zilikuwa superior kuliko anything was using at the supermarket at the point. So nikajiuliza, kwani anafanya nini? Then that kind of stuck with me. Years later, I'm talking like 8 years sasa, church ikaanza kufanya skills for women to empower themselves. And one of them was what? Soap making. I was like, haha. So for 200 bob, nikaenda class, nikafunza how to make soap. And that's where KRHP began per se.
Inspired by hers and her son's eczema, Christine started making luxury soft care products from natural raw materials obtained locally.
Our core line is our eco-certified KEBS shower gel. So it is one eco-friendly, two safe and very gentle. We have hand washes and we're expanding into lotions and the men grooming kits. It is an intentional process to make sure we source only globally trusted materials. Na nasema hivyo sababu kuna materials zingine zinakubalika hapa but hazikubaliki nje. So we have to make sure we are a global brand. Once that is done, the quality assurance manager comes in and tests every single batch. And that is the only point. Now we package and take it to our customers.
Despite the many players in the soft care industry, Christine says they have been able to remain competitive by going natural and guaranteeing quality.
Our scents are inspired by Africa, as I said earlier. So we have now the names like Governor Equita Essence, Havana and Garden Party. We service two broad audiences. So we have one audience which is households like mine, and then we also service hotels and Airbnbs, basically the hospitality industry. That's who our main targets are. And these are people who want to give their guests premium, affordable, local experiences.
Leveraging social media for sales, Christine says the reception for her products has been positive, and she looks forward to venturing into more home care products to reach as many people as possible.
The short-term goal is to venture more and more into Airbnbs and hotels because you've seen some traction there. But the goal, the big vision, is to make sure that KRHP is more than a Kenyan brand. We represent Kenya globally. As a brand, it's from Kenya, but it's a global brand, and it competes on not just price, but we also want to compete on quality and compete on elegance.
Edward Chweya, Made in Kenya, Citizen TV.
All right, let's take a quick break. We're back with the sports news in just a bit. Welcome back. Let's talk about some sporting action. In Nairobi United will face Azam FC of Tanzania, DR Congo's Maniema, and Wydad Casablanca of Morocco in Group B of the CAF Confederation Cup after the draw conducted on Monday. Elsewhere, Kenya Premier League side Moranga Seal hope to use their recent win over KCB as a launchpad to a better season after a poor start. Moranga had won only one match in 6 outings prior to the 2-1 win over KCB. Coach Osborne Monday has attributed the win to growth in confidence in the team and the strikers being more clinical in front of goal. Moranga has scored 4 goals in the last 2 matches in a 2-2 draw against Posta Rangers and the 2-1 win over KCB. The coach is now calling on his players to maintain the momentum as they prepare to face league leaders Kakamega Homeboys in Kakamega and AFC Leopards in Nairobi in their next 2 matches.
Results, but nimeshukuru sana kwa hiyo support ambao umetupatia, hatimaye yani ndio imefanya mpaka leo tumeweza kupata ushindi.
Now, the 6th round of the National Super League matches continue today with 3 matches on the cards. Kisumu All Stars lost 1-0 at home against Darajani Gogo, while Naivas were held to a 1-1 draw by newcomers Kabati FC. In Homa Bay at the Raila Odinga Stadium, host Mofa let a 1-goal lead slip from their hands to draw 1-1 against Soy United. Mofa had the perfect start as they took the lead in the first half stoppage time with a goal by Denjaman Laban Otieno. But with 3 minutes to play, Soy United drew level to remain unbeaten in the NSL after playing 3 matches. Mofa are now 6th with 3 teams, Kibera Black Stars, Migori Youth and Mombasa United tied in the lead. $146 junior golfers took part in the NCBA US Kids Golf Fall Season Finale at the Muthaiga Golf Club, with the boys and girls competing across different age groups. The Tour Championship tournament that concluded the season was crucial for the players as they earned double points for the win. Adam Nesbitt, who has been consistent by winning all the tournaments that he played, carded another 3 over par 75 to win the boys 12 category and take the group win for the season. Another impressive performance came from Ashley Gashora, who played level par to win the girls 11-12 years category, which earned her the overall crown. In another tournament, the 4th edition of the Golf Park Open, another junior, Shashwat Harish, finished 2nd in the Kenya Amateur Golf Championship. After finishing 1 under par, he lost to James Minor in the playoff. In Turkana County, where most stories revolve around drought, hunger and conflict, one man is using football to change that narrative. Coach Ken Simiyu of the little-known Earth Movers Football Club is nurturing young talents from marginalized communities in Lodwar, giving hope to boys who once dropped out of school. Lawrence Tikolo brings you the story from the dusty fields of Lodwar.
In the blazing heat of Lodwar, Turkana County, a cloud of dust rises as Earth Movers football teams begin training on a pitch outside the Lodwar prison. Their coach, Ken Simiyu, was granted special permission to use this space because in the whole of Turkana, there is no standard football pitch or stadium.
Saizi tuko na timu 4 ambazo zinacheza Division 1. Na hiyo Division 1 masharti ni kwamba lazima muwe na uwanja mzuri, muwe na stadium. Lakini kaunti ya Turkana hatuna stadium, ni ile tu wametuonea huruma, wameamua timu huwa zinakuja zinacheza hapa.
Most of these players come from a very humble background. Some can barely afford a meal. Many had dropped out of school due to lack of school fees.
Hawa watoto wanacheza mpira na vile vile tunajaribu wanapata scholarship ya kwenda shule. So far tuko na watoto 24 ambao wanasoma kwa scholarship ya football.
kidogo nikafika last year December, nikaenda Silver Eagles Academy Nairobi, nikaonekana huko, ndio St. Joseph Boys Kitale ndio wakaniona.
Beyond football, Ken's team is building peace, uniting youth from once hostile Turkana and Pokot communities.
Iliona kulikuwa na hiyo rivalry pia kwa between wanafunzi na Waturkana. But through football tulipata kuna wengine tulikuwa tunacheza na hapa within, tulikuwa tunacheza inter-counties.
Hii kwa timu yangu, hasa wale watoto walitoka hapa wakaenda county ya Pokot. Walitengeneza marafiki huko. Hiyo urafiki ilikuja ikasababisha kukawa na amani. Kwa sababu wanaona kuna watoto wa Turkana hapa na tunawapenda sana kwa sababu wanacheza mpira.
They lack sponsorship and proper facilities, and the team survives on donations from well-wishers. They don't earn from any league, but their passion keeps them going.
Despite harsh environmental conditions and limited resources, this dusty pitch has become a cradle for nurturing passionate football players. Reporting for Citizen TV, I'm Lawrence Tikolo, Lodwar, Turkana County.